In this video, we are going to start taking a look at JUnit parameterized test. And that's a mouthful for me to say. So the first thing we need to do is go in and add a dependency. And this is a separate jar that we need to include. So I come in dependency, and we are going to say artifact ID. I'm just going to copy this over. There we are. And the version, notice that we have a variable here, property. I'm using that so we only have to define the version in one spot. So that will satisfy a Maven for the dependency. And I want to point out that the params jar, the JUnit documentation says that the parameters is an experimental feature right now. So it is mature. It does work pretty well, but they're calling it experimental. I'm not quite sure why, but maybe as the JUnit platform, JUnit 5 platform is evolving, they may choose to include this in the overall API at some point in the future. So the need for this jar may go away at some point in the future. I'm going to come over here and let's take a look at owner test, and we'll do our parameter test on the owner test. I'm not going to create a separate test, a whole separate test class for it. So let's come up here and do a new test. I'm going to show you the value source at first, and we have a different annotation that is going to be parameterized test, like so. And what we can do is a value source. See value source coming up here. We're going to pass in strings, and that'll take an array in, and let's do spring. Just do spring framework guru like that, and we'll say string. And now I'm going to come out here and do system out value like so. So what I have is an array of strings, spring framework guru, and let's go ahead and run this. And we'll see the output. So now we can see running test. And that is from our before method. Remember, we implemented that on model test. You can see spring framework guru in the console. And effectively, that value source test is going to run multiple times. Now let's take a quick look. I'm going to come into the value source annotation. We can see the interface for that, but primarily what I want to do is click on this little target type icon here, and that's going to go to the source. And we can see in the JUnit Jupyter params jar, we've got that exploded out. In the params provider, we have a variety of them, and I'm using the value source annotation right now. And we're going to explore all the other ones in upcoming videos. So we have a number of different things that we can use to provide data into our tests. And this is a very, very handy way. So come back over here to the owner test. Basically, we are setting up our test to take in values from a source, and the JUnit framework gives us a variety of ways to get those values into our test. Like you might have a test that's covering like credit card numbers. I remember when I was working at Visa, had to determine the type of credit card, and I actually had to write a test. And in the industry, there's a very specific specification of credit card numbers. That first 4 characters of the credit card will tell you if it's a Visa card, a MasterCard, a Discover card, or an American Express, even a bunch of gas cards. There's like a whole wiki page on it. And I had to write logic to determine who the issuer of the card was. So that would be an example where I could have fake credit card numbers and doing tests to see that I get back the proper credit card type. So that's just one example of parameterized tests. There's a number of reasons that you'd want to do this is if you're doing like calculations. And the next several videos, we are going to explore out and show you the different techniques. So like method source, using an enum, and we have 2 ways of doing CSV. So we'll go through and look at those and show you an example of each one.